Welcome to Mind and Movement, getting smart about how you move. I'm Hazel. Thanks for joining me for coffee and move number 43. In the weekend, it's Monday today, in the weekend I did a lot of walking, and one of the things I was thinking about again was how I was stepping up. So when I'm walking uphill, of course I can't really recreate walking uphill, but I can recreate stepping up onto something like a step. So there were things I was thinking about when I was stepping up. So if you've got a step or a cushion like this, or something that you can just practice stepping up onto, practice stepping up and see how you're doing. Because what I found is that when I was getting very tired towards the top of the hill, when the hill was getting steeper, I would be doing more of this. Leaning forward, taking my knee further forward, which meant that I was using a really quad dominant pattern, and that's fine, but that's the pattern I use a lot. And so I started doing things like stepping up more, using my my back leg to push off and this leg to carry the weight rather than taking my knee really far forward. Instead of doing this, push, right? I then started doing this. And this means that I have to use my hamstring and my glute a lot more. It's a much more posteriorly driven pattern. So the things you want to check for are, one, when you're walking up hills, if you've got a lot of tension in your quads, so if you can't turn your quads off, my quads are, if you watch my hand, I'll turn my quad on, see how it came up, and then I release my quad released back down. Many of you will find that you can't do that, you don't have that control in the quads, you want to learn that, how to turn your quads off. But if you've got a lot of tension in the quads, or if your legs aren't strong enough to carry you, you're going to want to tilt forward and take that knee past, see how my knee's going past my ankle, then I'm pushing up here, I'm using much more of my quad, and I'm actually just kind of falling up the hill instead of not taking my knee past. So if you watch my knee, it doesn't bend forward, right? So I am using my quad, under my quads, these two. So have a look at how you're stepping up. So from the front, there's a couple more things you can look for here, is when you're stepping up, does your pelvis sag a lot this way? Hopefully not. Hopefully you've got the strength to keep the pelvis level there. So make sure that you're not doing this, because that means you are hanging on here, the ligaments, instead of using the strength of these muscles. And the other thing is watch for your knee. Watch that your knee's not moving in like that as you come up. You want your knee to be tracking straight ahead, right? So from the side, again, you want to be taking a step up like this. So my body's not leaning forward. My knee is not going forward of my foot like this. Right? And I don't know if you can hear it, but my neck clicks when I do it incorrectly. Well, not incorrectly. My neck clicks when I do it in the pattern that I'm most comfortable in. This pattern, using the back of my leg, like many of us, is a newer pattern. And maybe for you, a pattern that you haven't actually tried at all. So just step up onto something and watch how you do it. Do you do it all leaning forward and using your quad like this, or do you do it like this, where you are using the backs of your legs, you're really pushing off with this leg and taking the load in the hamstring and the glute on this side. So just practice stepping up, and next time you are stepping up a whole lot of stairs, make sure your knees don't go forward. Keep your knee back. I kind of like to think about pulling my knee back a little bit. As I transfer the weight, I pull my knee back, and that really helps me to engage the back part of my leg, which is the part of my leg that is weaker and needs to be used. So there you go, stepping up. The other thing you can do on this is do that standing on one leg pelvic list. If you have an artificial hip, don't do this one here, stand on the ground and do it. These eccentric loads coming down this way can be too much for the hip if it's artificial. If it's not artificial, then this is a great exercise to strengthen the hip. But again, if you are older and have osteopenia, osteoporosis, then start doing it on the floor. We don't want to give you those big eccentric loads in the hip. But I'm just standing here, pushing this standing leg down into the ground to lift my pelvis up so I can swing my leg through to take a step. And this movement here of pushing back up, slowly eccentrically coming down, pushing back up the pelvic lift. Great exercise for strengthening the lateral hip, the parts of you that carry you as you walk. They want to be nice and strong so that they can be used instead of you hanging on your hips, hanging on those ligaments. That means that you then employ a different gait pattern, which will lead to tension in your quads, tight hip flexors, knee problems, all that great stuff. So again, pushing down into the standing leg so you can swing that leg through and walking. Weight back in the heel. You should be able to lift up your toes. This is just standing on one leg, and then you can turn it into the pelvic lift by pushing down into the heel, eccentrically taking the hip down and then bringing it back up. Cool. So that's some stepping up for you and some just controlling. You want to be kind of driving the movement from your hips, and having strong hips will help you to build up strong bone density in the femur, the head of the femur, the part that sits into the pelvis. That's where your hip joint actually is, where the head of the femur comes into the pelvis. All of the muscles that are stabilizing that joint, the glutes, the lateral hip muscles here, very, very important for walking and making that walking really beneficial for your body instead of loading parts of you over and over again so it eventually becomes sore, which is what will happen if you use that knee, that bend forward using your quads a lot. You'll end up with a lot of tension, a lot of tight quads. Overuse for your quads. We've all got overuse for our quads. So start using the back of your leg more, keeping that shin nice and vertical when you're stepping up onto something. Awesome, have fun playing with these ideas, and I will see you tomorrow for Coffee and Move, whatever it is tomorrow. So we're on level 3 here in New Zealand now. Hopefully just a few more days until we go out of level 2. Hopefully at level 2 I'm going to be able to see clients again. So on that point I will love you and leave you, and you can come and see me again in person. I will be doing some more online stuff if you have been enjoying this though. So keep a lookout for that. Peace. Have a great day.